finding some for different projects. The items that were brought up, number one, the retirees that retired prior to '93 were and still are paying a premium for their death benefit, yet those retired since then were 2.5 to 3 times the amount of retirement. Their premium was bought out by the city, so there's no charge. If that is not discrimination, what is? One person tells me that amounts to fraud. The second item that I brought up last year, those retirees that were working in '78, which I was one of, was given a booklet for planning and figuring your retirement. Stated there would be cost of living raises yearly. Ours doesn't come close, even to Social Security. We don't pay half taxes and fees. Why is our cost of living cut in half compared to others? The third item that I brought up before is our retirement system has lost over 40% in the last 7 years, even with the larger contributions by the city. I recently witnessed one retiree get 120% of his base salary, while yet another received 96.2% because of the city or maybe Chief Horton's failure to replace retirees and giving overtime to a small group of people, resulting in high compensation and retirement benefits as much as $76,000 for the rest of his life. The new item that I haven't mentioned, while y'all investigating city manager and board situation, I think the city should be looking into this city manager and chief board situation for wrongful acts. Horton was a buddy that was brought here by city manager. And if looked into, you would probably find he did not qualify to be chief using our own public requirements for that position. Of course, he had the latitude to hire who he wanted. I know this is a lot to swallow for our 2 new council members, but the rest should be aware of everything I've mentioned. I would love to hear some feedback from this. Also, I would be more than glad to discuss this in a work session if I was given the opportunity. And I think that's it. I want to thank you for your time and hope your consideration concerning these matters. And I'm open to any question whatsoever, and I've got evidence to back up everything I said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Dolores Knight. She's followed by Mr. Tony Goodwin.
Good evening, Honorable members of council. My name is Dolores Knight, and I reside at 33 Kennedy Drive in Portsmouth. I come here tonight to ask you to rescind your blackout of television non-agenda speakers. I find it difficult to believe that you view the televised comments by non-agenda speakers as a threat to the economic development of our city. Business owners locate to cities that have low rate taxes, stellar schools, low crime rates, and a variety of arts. One new member of the City Council suggests business owners will include non-agenda speakers on the cut list. How naive. The reason for the blackout in the view of many citizens is members of the council feels citizens are being too crucial of their job performances. Members of council, I am asking you tonight that you begin televising non-agenda speakers again. Yes, members of City Council, I am asking you tonight to begin televising non-agenda speakers again. By doing so, I am confident your performances in the view of many will improve with this immediately. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Tony Goodwin.
Mr. Goodwin asked to be dropped down.
Excuse me?
Mr. Goodwin asked to be dropped down. He's on his way, but he's not quite here yet.
I'm sorry he's not here at the moment, so we'll look at that. Mr. Les French. And Mr. French is followed by Ms. Pat Simons.
Good evening, Mayor Wright, Vice Mayor Cherry, Member of Council, City Manager. My name is Les French. I reside at 208 Glasgow Street in Portsmouth, Virginia, and I'm here representing myself. I'm respectfully asking you to rescind a decision not to broadcast the non-agenda speakers. I went to your meeting that you had the other night at Northam. I listened to all the speakers. I did not speak myself. I think you got several good suggestions there. The mayor's address on civility, I think is a good thing to stress before people begin to speak. And I think the lady that said you should have some hard and fast rules so that people will know what conduct is acceptable and unacceptable. And they should know that it's highly unlikely when they raise an issue with you that you're going to be able to make a decision that night. You can take it under advisement, you're going to ask the appropriate staff people, then they're going to come back and give you information that will enable you to make a good decision. I don't think any of you, when you voted to do away with this, had any bad intent. I think you thought you were making a good and reasonable decision. But the most important thing you do as a council member is build confidence in government. And when you take things away, or there's a good reason, whether you can explain it away or not, people say, what's going on here? There's something they don't want me to know. There's something they don't want me to hear. You all know you can't escape criticism, but you can tell people they can criticize you in a polite and professional manner and not be shaking their fists. So all I'm asking you to do is to take a hard look, which I know you are, and go back. And you need to give the mayor the power to use his gavel. And that's hard if he's being criticized. You've got to support him when he says, you're kind of out of line here. We want you to change the way you're saying these things. You'll get criticized for that too, but it's a much better way to deal with people. And I can say anything I want to within 3 minutes, and I don't understand why most people can't. And that's all.
Our next speaker is Ms. Pat Simons, and she's followed by Mr. Steve Carroll.
Good evening, council members. Pat Simons, I live in Park Manor. I love watching people show class and grace. It's something we all need to do more of in all situations, especially our interactions with each other. Sometimes we mistakenly think that the world is ours in a bubble, but we're so wrong. And it's very wise that when you plan to burst someone's bubble, be sure to have both hands cupped underneath of them. There's no class or grace in bursting other people's bubbles. We make decisions every day, and some of those are how we act and react to situations. I watched last week's community meeting on the website, and I witnessed all class and grace when almost every citizen in the audience stood in support of your rescinding the order to pull the plug on the non-agenda speakers. The audience, I noted, was about triple the size of last year's community meetings. The citizens didn't have to venture out on that foggy, rainy night. They chose to be there. So just what did the presence of so many indicate? It said, this is a disappointing day for me, my family, and all Portsmouth citizens. Fair or unfair, we hope this council will get back on track. The presence of so many said, we are tired of political antics, cheap props of using tragedy as a platform to advance an agenda in order to gin up emotional attachments of fear and intimidation in order to silence the citizens. Sunlight remains the best detergent. We should not have to rely on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook to know what's going on in our local government. But thank goodness these methods are there for us when government chooses to shut us out. When our elected representatives are unwilling to be accountable to those for whom they work, We can and will replace you when the time is right. In pulling the plug, each of you made one statement loud and clear. You said to me, "We are ashamed of Portsmouth citizens." Yes, class and grace is surely what we all need to practice in all situations. For the truest grace is not to forgive, but to never have found fault in the first place. I am asking you to restore the faith in the Portsmouth citizens by rescinding your motion. Thank you.
Following Mr. Carroll is Mr. Mark Geduldig-Yatrofsky.